Sitting in the investigator's office, I felt the world around me begin to shrink rapidly to the size of that gloomy room. Mr. Smith began his address calmly, but his every word was heavy. It was clear from our investigation that my wife, Emily Smith, could face up to 11 years in prison. Those words struck me like a bolt of lightning. My Emily, the light of my life, could be behind bars. But things could have turned out differently if she hadn't cheated on me. 2 months ago, my life was completely different. I woke up next to Emily, and every morning started with her smile. It was our little happiness, our favorite routine. We lived in a small but cozy house on the outskirts of town. Emily worked for a travel company, and her eyes always lit up when she talked about new places offered to their clients. I was doing design work for a small company. Our lives seemed perfect. We loved each other and enjoyed every moment we spent together. One evening, Emily excitedly told me that her company was celebrating its anniversary and had decided to send employees on a vacation to Ocean Shores, California in 3 weeks. Her eyes sparkled with happiness. "That's wonderful, honey. We work so hard we deserve a break," I replied as I hugged her. However, Emily clarified that the trip was being funded by the company and unfortunately I couldn't go. Her words took me aback. We rarely allowed ourselves vacations due to my busy work schedule, and I didn't want to let her go alone. "Are you sure you want to go alone? Why don't we wait until we can go together?" I asked. Emily took my hands in hers. "It's only for a few days, and I'll come back to you full of energy and new ideas. This is important to me and I want you to understand that," she said, and added that when she got back, and if I had the opportunity, we could go to Hawaii, for example. I was pleased with that suggestion. On the other hand, how could I say no to her? I agreed, trying to hide my anxiety. We spent the rest of the evening as usual. We watched a couple episodes of the show, had sex, and went to bed. Emily fell asleep quickly, but I couldn't settle down, tossing and turning. The thought of Emily going on vacation didn't sit well with me. Although 80% of Emily's co-workers were women, the 20% men made me feel uncomfortable. I lay with my eyes open, and my gaze happened to fall on her phone, which was flashing notifications on the nightstand. Decided to see what interesting things my wife was getting. Emily and I didn't usually hide anything from each other, so I easily unlocked her phone and saw the messages from Lisa. Emily often talked to Lisa, who was her friend and co-worker. They always took walks together and sat in cafes. According to Emily, Lisa was hired 6 months ago and Emily trained her and taught her how to interact with customers, during which time they became close. I decided to check Lisa's profile, curious to see what she looked like since Emily had never shown her to me. But when I clicked on their conversation, I was horrified. Lisa texted my wife, "Don't forget to wear your purple panties and purple cardi tomorrow." I thought it was their friendly banter, but as I scrolled further, I realized that my close attention had not been in vain. The conversation with Lisa was filled with tenderness and intimate moments. I saw pictures I was never supposed to see and words I was never supposed to read. I realized that Lisa was a lover's alias. They set up meetings, discussing when I would be gone and how best to trick me. I also learned that the trip to California was just for the two of them. There was no company anniversary celebration. Emily had planned to go on this trip alone with her lover, but I couldn't figure out who it was. I spent the rest of the night unable to sleep well. I saved Lisa's page and snippets of their conversation just in case. The next day, I went to work as if nothing had happened. However, emotions and questions were boiling inside me. I couldn't concentrate on work. My thoughts were somewhere else. I decided that I needed to spring into action to clear up the confusion. During my lunch break, I approached Bob, one of my coworkers known for his skills. "Bob, I need your help," I began, trying to speak as calmly as possible, but my nervousness gave me away. "Is everything okay?" His look was full of genuine concern. "Yeah, everything's fine. I just need to find out who's behind a certain social media account. Can you find out the IP address of that user?" My excitement was probably obvious. Bob paused for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, I can try," he said. I nodded back, feeling the determination building in me. "Thanks a lot, Bob. I owe you a lot," I said after meeting Bob. I tried to keep my cool and continue to live a normal life. I got up in the morning, went to work, came home, but every step I took was accompanied by thoughts of Emily's betrayal. She kept telling me about her fake meetings with Lisa, but I knew it wasn't true. Unfortunately, Bob was away for the weekend, so I didn't see him for a few days. When I met Bob 3 days later, his news was like a bombshell to me. Here's the address. The user lives in our town, but I couldn't find out more. He told me as he handed me a note with the address on it. I looked at the piece of paper, feeling a familiar feeling inside me. I was determined to find out who lived in this house, but I didn't want to do it in person. My wife's lover would probably know me by sight, and that was dangerous. They must not know that I knew anything about them. I also didn't want to hire a private investigator, so I decided to turn to my longtime and trusted friend Stephen. He had always been a resourceful man, and I knew he could help me. "Stephen, I need your help," I began as we met at a small cafe at my request. "I found someone who may have been involved in a problem between Emily and me." Stephen listened intently, occasionally narrowing his eyes as I recounted the details of my story. "So you want to know everything about this guy, who he is, what he does? If you need to, I can call a few guys and we can harass him," he asked when I was done. "No, there's no need for violence, but we need to find out information about this man. I just need to know who he is," I replied, feeling a knot of worry weaving inside me. Stephen nodded and pulled out his cell phone. "Okay, give me a couple days. I'll call you." Stephen called me. His voice was serious. He said we needed to meet. Upon meeting, he said, "This man, Walter Asta, he's Emily's boss," he said, looking me straight in the eye. Suddenly, all the pieces of the puzzle came together, leaving me in a state of shock and disbelief. I said goodbye to Stephen and went home with a plan in my head of how I wanted to get back at her, but it was extremely cruel. Emily was flying out in 2 weeks, and I wanted to see if she was really deceiving me, or if Walter Asta was just a blackmailer and Emily was too scared to admit it to me. "Honey, you're leaving in 2 weeks. Did you buy the tickets?" I asked Emily as we sat in the kitchen. "Yes, they were bought a long time ago," she said. "Can I see the ticket?" I asked. "Why?" "Especially since our boss has all the tickets," replied Emily. I replied that I was just curious. "And how many people end up flying out?" I continued. "There will be 10 people," she replied. "So there will be exactly 10 of you. But who will work all the days while you're on vacation?" I asked. "First of all, we have a large staff. People from another office will work in ours. And second, only the best go, and I'm among them," she said. "Got it. And Lisa, your friend, will be there too?" I asked. "I guess so." Emily replied briefly and then added, "Let's drop the subject and eat in peace." I stopped pestering her with questions. I realized how much of her story about the trip was soaked in lies. There was a big hole in it. If a company celebrates an anniversary, it's usually a company party, not a whole vacation in another state with flights. She also said only the best employees would go. What about the ones who would stay? I knew how to break her story with one question, but decided not to. I had a surprise for Emily, and it was a real surprise. After we had dinner, I set us up on a romantic date, and we had a great time together. I decided to surprise Emily every day and give her as many positive emotions as possible. I was madly in love with her and hoped that she would cancel the trip and realize that our marriage was so much better than a fling. I didn't feel guilty about Emily starting to cheat on me. I had always been gentle and kind to her, tried to surprise her a couple times a month, and never denied her anything at all. But I had allowed the possibility that Emily had simply stopped feeling cared for by me. Now I wanted her to be as happy with me as possible. The 7 days passed like a fairy tale, and we even got to go hot air ballooning. Emily was genuinely happy with me, and I could see her sincerity. I checked Emily's dialogue with Lisa every night. While they used to talk every day, Emily was now mostly talking to her boss, who kept wanting to meet her. Emily's response was that they would have many free days during the trip. I felt and hoped that my wife would give up on this stupid idea and break off her relationship with her boss. However, 2 days before her flight, I noticed her packing her suitcase. She was packing her swimsuit and her most beautiful sexy lingerie. "Oh my God, you're back from work, and here I am getting ready. I have to fly out in 2 days and I'm not ready yet," she said with a sweet smile. I almost dropped the bouquet of flowers I was holding behind my back. "Oh, what a beautiful bouquet of flowers. I love you, darling. You make me happy every day. I promise to be happy every day during my vacation with memories of you," she said and kissed me on the lips. "So you decided to fly after everything," I said to myself, quietly hiding my anger and resentment. "What do you mean, darling?" I didn't understand the question, she asked. "Do you need help?" I asked. "Oh no thanks," she said, and I walked out of the bedroom feeling so angry inside that I just wanted to disappear. I couldn't understand why she was treating me like this. I was surprising her and spending tons of time with her, but she was still planning to go on this trip with her boss. The next day, I called Steven and asked for a meeting. "I need your help with something," I told him when we met at the same cafe. "What are you up to?" he asked cautiously, noticing my determination. "I need to stock up on certain mood-elevating substances, preferably a few kilos," I said, my voice calm, but inside my soul was clenching at the thought. Steven looked at me for a long time, trying to see if I was serious. Realizing I wasn't kidding, he nodded. "Okay, it'll be done in a couple days." "I need it today, ideally within a few hours," I said. Steven's eyes widened. He stepped back and 10 minutes later told me it would be ready in a few hours. An hour later, Steven got the exact coordinates and we headed to the location. As Steven handed me what I had asked for, I felt the power in my hands to change everything. The night before Emily left, with her suitcase already packed, I chose a moment to discreetly add a surprise to her suitcase. I arranged the packages in her luggage, hiding everything so that Emily couldn't find anything in the morning. Walking her to the airport, I tried not to show my emotions. Emily was full of anticipation for the adventure, and her every smile pierced my heart. To make sure Emily didn't check her suitcase, I distracted her all morning by telling her how much I would miss her and how much I loved her. Because of the rush and my devious actions, Emily didn't check her suitcase and I took her to the airport. "Where are all your coworkers?" I asked as I started to drop her off at the airport. "They're already inside. I don't think you need to walk me straight to them," she said and kissed me. "I love you," she said. "If you live to 100, I want to live to 100 minus 1 day, so I never have to live without you," I whispered as we said goodbye, feeling a lump in my throat. "What?" she asked, not hearing what I said as she hurried to the plane. "Good luck," I called out to her. "Going back to work," I added, realizing there was no going back. I had made my choice, and all I had to do was wait and see how events unfolded. I worked all morning, and surprisingly, before lunch I felt calm and good. That's when I got a call from Emily. "David, I need you to come to the airport, please." Her voice shook, distorted with tears, and my heart hammered harder. "What's wrong?" My hands shook as I held the phone. "I can't talk about this over the phone, just come over please," she said. "Calm down and explain what happened," I said. "David, they found illegal substances in my suitcase. But I didn't put them in there. Someone set me up." Emily's voice was full of desperation and confusion. "If you didn't put them in there, how could they be there, Emily? I'm not ready to play games. I thought you were calling to tell me you got there safely and everything's fine. But you're kidding me. I'm swamped with work. I'll talk to you tonight." I was determined and hung up, though Emily started to say something. A few hours later, I got a call and was summoned to the banned substances department. I had to leave work for a good reason, so I headed over to the department. My heart was pounding hard as I walked down the hallway to the investigator's office. When I opened the door, I saw him sitting behind a desk littered with papers and photos. "Please have a seat, Mr. Smith." His voice was stern, but there was a hint of sympathy in it. The investigator told me that my wife was caught at the airport with her boss, Walter Osta. About 1 kilogram of illegal substances was found in her suitcase. "Why only 2 people were detained when there was a group of at least 10 people?" I asked. The investigator replied that there were only 2. "We suspect that there was an affair between your wife and Mr. Osta, and they were planning a vacation together. Were you aware of their relationship?" he asked me. I replied that I was hearing about all this for the first time and thought my wife was going on a company-sponsored vacation with her colleagues. The banned substances were hidden extremely ineftly. It would be foolish for a woman to go to her own arrest knowing this. It's completely unreasonable, wouldn't you agree? He said. I agreed with him. I absolutely cannot understand how this could have happened, I told the investigator. I shared with him that my wife and I have a great relationship. Showed him pictures and gifts I had made for my wife. I also mentioned that if I found out about the infidelity, I would just divorce my wife. I told him the whole story of our marriage. Eventually, he got tired of me and didn't ask any more questions. I was not completely, but partially cleared of suspicion. I was still forbidden to see Emily, so I went home and continued to live a normal life while the investigation continued. Later, officers from the Bureau of Prohibited Substances found several more kilograms of illegal substances in Mr. Acosta's home. They also searched his office and found more there. I learned about this when I was called back to the station. I continued to stick to my side of the story, expressing my deep regret and sympathy for everything that had happened. I even paid Emily's lawyer, who in turn suspected me of the whole thing. To deflect all suspicion from myself, I got rid of all evidence related to my wife's infidelity, deleted photos and correspondence from my laptop that I had saved a couple weeks before. A month later, a trial was scheduled during which Mr. Asta was charged with handling a controlled substance and received a lengthy prison sentence of 18 years. My wife Emily was tried as an accessory to this case and sentenced to 11 years in prison. I attended the trial and expressed deep regret to Emily's parents, as they did to me. They thought Emily had cheated on me and gotten involved in a horrible story. After the trial, I decided to meet Emily for the first time in a month and a half. We sat in the visitor's room. She was brought in handcuffs and placed in a chair. We didn't even hug. Emily seemed to have aged about 20 years, even though it hadn't been that long. We greeted each other and I was the first to speak, asking if she really had an affair with her boss. She didn't say anything, just cried, clearly remorseful and regretting her actions. Emily told me the whole story of her affair with her boss. She admitted that she had been physically attracted to him, feeling the alpha male allure that made her want to be with him. Mr. Asta made up a fake friend, Lisa, for my wife so he could see Emily on a regular basis. When I asked my wife why she tricked me, she said she was bored. At this point, I wanted to spit on her, but she looked so pathetic that I tried to remain calm. Emily tried to convince me that she loved me, but I didn't believe her anymore. I don't understand how this could have happened. I'm so ashamed in front of everyone and even more so in front of you, she said. I'm sorry about what happened too. I thought our relationship was strong, I replied. Everything was perfect. It's my fault, she said. I thought and hoped it wasn't your fault too, but alas, I said with a smirk. What do you mean? What are you talking about? She asked. Do you love me? I asked her. Yes, she replied. If you live to be 100 years old, I want to live to be 100 minus one day, so I never have to live without you. I said and walked away in silence because I had learned everything I needed to know. I turned to her one last time and said, in the end, I made the right choice and you didn't. That was the end of the story. Write your opinion in the comments about this story. We'll be interested to read it. Also, don't forget to put a like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss new, no less interesting and exciting stories. Good luck!
Thank you so much for watching my video and your time. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button. Also, I am very interested to know your personal opinion about this story. You can write it in the comments. I will definitely read it and reply to you personally.